Welcome back, everyone. Um, Today we will not be playing. We will be a bit of a campaign recap as we get closer to session 100. It's about time we do another recap. For those of you who have missed the previous one, I have a clip of the last recap, which went over sessions 1 through up on the channel somewhere a while back now. That's right after session 50. But yeah. So today we will go over sessions 51 to 75. Since I'm gonna try to do these more often and in smaller chunks. 50 sessions is a lot to do in one sitting. And we're also not at session 100 yet, so I can't do 50 sessions if I wanted to. But yes, we will go through 25 sessions and then NPCs that we've met along the way. So, let's see, really do much of a refresher, so it may take a bit for me to remember everything, but we will just go with it. So, session 51, I guess, this ended off, 50 was right after the party with the thrill. Yes, so 51. Let's see. Or wait, was this? I think this is right at the coast. A little fuzzy, but all right, let's see. People are scrying on us. This is right when we had met Evelyn's wife and daughter. We had yes, we tried to get them passage to, where are they going? On Corral? Somewhere, but we left the Amelia and the maid, I believe, with ship captain and sent them off as we went off to deal with the attack on the port. Ah, yes, people were after Cassian's swords as well. Those were supposed to be en route to Vasselheim, and I believe we had caught wind that part of this pirate attack on the port was somewhat of a distraction in order to capture the swords. So we joined the attack on the port, Sagape, the she was a Gorgon, I believe, one of the one of the like head pirates in of the Night King's, like, what's the word? Um, his like board. Um, you were assigned to her crew. I think at this point we had somewhat split the party, where part of us were with Sagape, and part of us were escorting Evelyn's family. There was, yes, one of the other pirate captains was a Minotaur, and it turns out that this Minotaur was um, under Bane, I think, and it was his mission to go after the swords. So Petra and I think Evelyn and her Liana ran into the Minotaur, who summoned the dead spirit of Cassian to help in battle. He had turned into some crazy, like, undead dragon spirit thing. Um, and Morgan shows up to help. That's right. So the other half of the party are with Sagape fighting a golden chain. I believe they were some sort of mob crew. I don't know if they were part of the Myriad or what. Um, but I think that was part of our mission that we had gotten from the Dynasty as part of our job on the coast. Um, so that's what Rux and Evilier were doing. Um, so we fought off the Golden Chain Leader. Oh yes, and Evilier pulls Rux. Um, after Morgan and Eska help us in that fight, they teleport back to their ship, and through a portal, Evilier follows them, thinking that he could just pretend to be. He had the cloak of the bat or something, and tried to sneak back, but then the portal closed, and he had to like untransform. Um, but Morgan decides to negotiate with him, thankfully. Uh, it appears that she and Eska are not aligned with um, what the Sith are planning in attacking the coast. So they decided to help us, and eventually Morgan gets Evil back to our ship. Um, Star Destroyer shows up. We've got Karand, and yes, this is the grand climax of this arc, the campaign. Um, where Karand expresses her power and starts the gigantic wave of undead to rise up from the coast. Um, while this is happening, uh, yes. So Petra's group finds Thara. Thara is the NPC with Cassian's swords, and so they decide that instead of sending her to Vasselheim, which was the original plan, they'll, since Evelyn is escaping town anyway with her wife, they decide to bring Dara along, and the swords will likely be safer with them um, at the airport rather than having Thara go off on her own. Um, the party eventually regroups, and everyone says their goodbyes. We separate from Sagape, and everyone gets dropped off at the ship. We have some family bonding time with Evelyn and Perliana, who happens to know about Evil Ear's past life as a Myriad Enforcer. Um, and this is where we do wedding stuff. Evelyn says her buys-ish. She discusses her wedding plans with Petra. Um, transfers leadership of TF5 over to Rux and hands off all the items. We mention how Leon has heard about what was his name? Ivan Jones, the Destroyer. And Evilier finally opens up a little bit about his backstory. Um, oh yeah, Evelyn's gifts that she made, the absorb elements crystals or necklaces. She used using crystals um from Marcus's old lightsabers. It's nice. And they don't need attunement, which was great. We have the wedding. We invite Petra's Liana. This is great because we have two Lianas. That was very confusing for a while. And we have the wedding in Petra's magical mansion. Um, very touching. A lot of tears were shed. And Marcus's ghost comes and has a bit of a moment with all of us. Um, it's a very happy beach themed event. And that is 51. So next session, we get the tour of Petra's mansion. She has personalized rooms for everyone. Rux's room is very both Raven Queen themed and like ice themed. Very dark and broody. Lucia's is very spacey and Luxon, of course. Evil Ears is very dark and emo, as he was um, at the time that we knew him. Um, Petra's is also very, very Luxony. Uh, oh yeah, we didn't have Val yet, so there was no Val room. That's later. We discuss what will happen when we get back to the dynasty. Uh, do a bit of catching up with some NPCs, checking in with Clarence. Essek has things to tell us. Get back. Ask Vezdar about the dens. I think at this point we were trying to fish for information about the Children of Malice. Um, let's see. Oh yes. Um, Liana's cursed beacon. Uh, he was performing some research on it, and think one of the souls tried to possess her, and she turned into Alessandra for a moment, or at least someone who very deeply resembled her, which gave Petra a quite a scare. Um, she's able to force the soul out with a greater restoration. But the soul leaves the body, but then tries to attack others. I guess Evelyn was there as well, and it tried to possess Evelyn, but uh, Petra killed it with a sacred flame. Liana wakes up, figures out what's happened, tries to explain some things, or will explain eventually. Um, yes. So Evilier, when he had followed Eska to Morgan's ship, Morgan had said that she may be willing to cooperate, but she wanted to discuss things with Rux. Um, and the party seemed to be okay with that. So we check in with Morgan and say we'll meet her at Uthadern. We scry on Adelon, who seems to have gone feral. Um, get am I not right about? Guess I didn't. Um, but part of the whole thing with Karan when she awoke all the undead, she also um attacked and dethroned God, as Christina likes to put it. Um, but she used the Horn of Orcus in order to attack Bahamut's realm and severely injure him, which caused a rift in control. Well, not control, but it's caused a lot of issues with the intelligence of many of the dragons in the realm, and um, for all intents and purposes, broke like the bond between all of Bahamut's worshippers and himself. We had at the time believed Bahamut to be dead, but find out later that that was not the case. So this Petra scrying on Edelon was us trying to see what happened to the dragons. And it does appear that Edelon has gone feral. Um, Petra gets a vision from the Luxon. Luxon is in danger. Power of the other gods are going to be needed in order to survive this upcoming war. Um, yeah, Liana wants to introduce Petra to the family, pick up little brother. Um, there's a lot of concern about Liana having a beacon and the fact that the beacon is corrupted. Um, Evelyn finally says her goodbyes and she heads off. We teleport over to Uthadern to meet up with Morgan. So Morgan's whole deal, we go to a tavern and decide to meet up. Um, and we both end up zone of truthing each other. It's a two-on-two conversation. Morgan brings Eska and Rux brings Petra. But Morgan's whole thing is that she's done with the vampire life and wants to get out of it. Um, she was knowledgeable of what was going to happen in the attack on the port, but wasn't really in any position of power to stop it. Um, she has various information on Karand and would be willing to trade it in order to get the components needed for a ritual to unvampire her. She tells us about we agree, and she tells us about the Horn of Orcus. The fact that they took the one from Rumble Cusp, and that was what they used in the attack on Port Damali. And with Bahamut out of the way, they are now looking to attack the Wild Mother, who is the other main deity that they are against. And to do that, they need the other Horn of Orcus, which is at Vasselheim. So that's her tip for us. We get well, they're going to mount their attack in a week. So we have one week to prepare, but there's also the Thalos family potluck to deal with, which is where Liana wanted to introduce Petra to the family, or how, I guess. We all share our information, and as we head home, rest of the Petra and Lucia go over to Bazozan to pick up Lucia and Yana's little brother, Marin, Marin Thalos. Because he needs to get home for potluck. He is basically a general, kind of. He's the leader of the outpost at Bazazan. Um, and his duty is to protect the betrayer god temples that are there and prevent any cultists or would be like rebellers from entering the place and bringing any old evil powers uh, back to life. Um, we get home and Essek is waiting for us. That's right, Essek wants to interrogate Evilier because he is someone new that we met while we were not at the dynasty, and in order to become one of our guests, he's got to get vetted. So, moving on to the next session. Petra, Lucia, and Varen get back. They head back to the Thalos Manor. Um, yes, there's a lot of tension at this moment, or this period of time because of the beacon situation. Lucia is very intent on giving all the details to Mom Thalos, but of course Liana does not want that, and Petra is not too keen on sharing information that isn't necessarily need to know about the beacons to people, let alone to the head of Denthalis. Already does not particularly like Petra. Um, Phil and Clarence on what happened. having lost Marcus and Evilier. Well, oh, not Evilier. Having gained Evilier and Evelyn having left the party. Um, Shuffle rooms around and do a bit of shopping. There's a bunch of Thalos RP as Lucia spends the nights at a Thalos Manor. Um, yes, Lucia is concerned because um this soul thing that happened with the beacon, in order to pass it off as something not to be shared, Petra and Liana had to play it off as attack. So Lucia was, of course, worried about Essek and Mom Thalis, which may or may not have set off a bit of suspicion, but everything seemed to work out. Um, let's see. Rux visits Turok to drop off. I forget the name of the sword, but the sword that ended up killing Marcus. Um, he also asks about Orcus, the Horn of Orcus, and explains everything that happened in Port Damali. He gets some info about the Raven Queen Temple in Vasselheim, since that is somewhere he's gonna have to go to get information on the next horn. The major temples in Vasselheim all have um like leaders, and all of their approval will be required to have anything done. The horn need to be convinced of the incoming danger. Uh, Vasselheim stuff. Yes, Dawn Marshals. That's what they're called. So there's a Bahamut temple, there's a Cord temple, Wild Mother temple, and a Raven Queen temple. So they'll have to talk to each of the Dawn Marshals and figure out what they're gonna do. The initial plan is to just warn them and help them prepare for combat. But as we'll find out, that does not exactly go according to plan. We talk about Bane and learn a little bit about the thrill. Um, and secure his help uh, for the ritual for Morgan. A little bit of downtime at Castle Fantastic. Get some tattoos, play some card games. Rux tries to ask Sagape for help at Vasselheim because we need a ship, need reinforcements. But unfortunately, his persuasion check doesn't go well enough, and that falls through. We get some fancy clothes for the Thalos potluck. Liana's, or with then Thalos's personal tailor. Rux and Evelier both get like suits. You have fancy dresses for Petra and Liana, or Petra and Lucia. Um, oh yes, this is where we actually name everything. Um, so the our house officially becomes Castle Fantastic, and I think is this where Rux becomes Grand Duke? There's a whole there's a whole thing about Rux becomes leader. That might be later. I'll get to that later. Um, but yeah, we make our meals for the potluck. Um, yes, Liana shows Petra the corrupt beacon. They do a bit of they like attune to it. They get a vision of old planet that Bane Bane's forces were in excuse me, in charge of. Get a bit of a teaser of some of the creatures that we'll end up fighting later. We see Lysandra as Bane's right hand. Yes, Ashen. That's Bane's like old war base. Um, yes, they were like in having a vision from the point of view of two stormtroopers. But eventually they are like forced out, and the Bane realizes that they're like trying to learn more through the souls in the beacon. Um, let's see. Rux dreams the King of Uthadern tries to check in with what's going on. Um, how the situation is with Calum, since Calum basically started everything that happened in Uthadern. They've all fled. Not too much has been found. But they're trying to keep the portal that was in Calum's like research basement, the tumble carve lab, from reactivating so that more stormtroopers can't get into the town basically. Rux shares the info of what happened at the port. Um, and sees if he can act as an intermediary to help bring an end to the Empire Dynasty War. But unfortunately, like Luthadern has already allied itself with the Empire, so that's not really gonna help. Um, he also warns him that Adelon is gonna. Let's see. Um, so in the morning of the potluck, ugly sweaters. Yeah, so the pre-dinner, just the family, is an ugly sweater contest. Um, TF5 gets to meet uh Thala's family. Also, you are introduced to Den Olios, and Val joins the party. as Evelyn had left not too long ago. Val is a there. Well, Val is our druid, a furbolg, small child, well, tall child, um, and prodigy of sorts, and she's being transferred from her not sure what ward or her like mentor under Den Olios, Zephyr, to Lucia. And Lucia has to like oversee her for a while and mentor her for the time being. Um, so Val joins the party. And after after that, the true potluck begins, and all of the fancy guests arrive. Then Devanya is represented by Zin. There's Cassian's parents, dad and stepmom. There's a Minotaur who we don't interact with too much. We mingle with a lot of people. Petra tries to talk to Essek, but typical Essek form, he's very awkward and doesn't talk to. Queen arrives and gives a very fancy speech. Petra talks to um, the queen's wife, tries to use that as ploy, a way to try to get the queen to stand down a bit, but it seems unlikely that that will work. Not even the queen's wife can rein her in when they're going as intensely as they are. Um, Val Val has a friend. Um, so her magical companion, familiar, not familiar, weapon, all of the above. Um, is concerned about the party. Um, let's see, Evilier makes awkward small talk. Zunala, his ex-girlfriend, is up. Lots of clinginess. What else? Oh yeah, Rux tries to follow up about the assassination attempt at the dinner party, which there's not too much to get from. Zin and Varen have a show match. Lots of RP in the session. Dinner happens. Ask Varen about his fighting style. Very obviously similar to Val's fighting style, which is definitely not like a standard fighting style. But we do find out that Varen is a Knights Radiant, just like Val. Similar powers of Spren. Mom Thalos interrogates Petra to make sure she's not dating Liana just to get rich or get power or anything. Zephyr says his goodbye to Val. Lucia tries to break up with Zunala, but that doesn't work. It's a running thing where Lucia is no longer quite committed to the relationship, but Zunala is right. We get back home and Malagar is asking about Cassian. Died. We have a bit of an interrogation session with Val to see what she knows. She doesn't know. Letting her know that we're in a lot of stuff. She introduces us to her spren, Ash. There's a lot of lore here where the spren are living weapons, more or less, and they're much connected to Jedi and Sith stuff that's been encountering on and off. Well, many lightsabers are basically like dead spren. Um, Live spren are very rare in universe. But with the potluck over, we're ready to head over to Vasselheim. So yes, there you go. Rux is now Grand Duke Lord Commander of Castle Fantastic. Evilier brings up some rather interesting things, and we start bonding more with Clarence, and Rux gets a big title. Let's see. Val tells Varen about our plans and um, convinces him to help us in Vasselheim. We debrief the Queen on Valyria and what happened with Evelyn. There is a big plan of an attack at Rexentrum, and the Queen is requesting our help to attack. Zin and Essek are going ahead of time and trying to steal back the beacons that have been taken by the Empire, and our job, along with the rest of the army, is to basically distract while Essek and Zin get in and get out. So we take the job. Rux gets a message from Volkner, the court mage of Luthadern, one of the underlings of the King of Luthadern, saying that the king wishes to have a discussion. So Rux streams the king, and he had a bit of a talk with King Dwendal of the Empire. undead horde is causing havoc across the coast, and much of the forces in Rextentrum are having to divert over to the gates in order to protect the border. Because if the gates fall, then the dead are gonna spill into the Empire, and that is not great. Um, and at this point, the king has a bit of a change of heart and offers his help in our attack, assuming that, or presuming that, the quickest way to end the war is if the dynasty wins this invasion capital. And in order to do that, obviously TF5 have to succeed, but the odds are stacked against us, so the king offers Gunhild assistance as well as whatever glass blades he has already sent to fire. Um, Roxal is that with everyone. Um, Queen does not trust this, but everything will continue according to plan. Um, oh, but before all the Rexentrum stuff happens, we have to go to Vasselheim and stop Karan's attack on try and steal the next Horn of Orcus. So we meet up with Morgan in the desert, Ghostlands, and we fast travel through Astral Plane. Get there. Um, Morgan tells us that the best way to stop them will be to attack the Star Destroyer. But Sith Lord Harkin, captain of that ship, and Ron will have one of her clones there. Um, she knows the layout of the ship, and if we can disable the power source, we can maybe force a crash landing. So our job will be to get help from the temples at Vasselheim. We land, convince the guards that we are there on a pilgrimage, and things do not look great. We get in and talk to the Raven Queen Temple first. Takes a bit of talking to get to the High Warden, but we are welcomed in. Um, Turns out what's happening in town is that the seals that were protecting the Horn of Orcus have been broken. And so all of the necromantic energy from it is seeping into the town. The graveyards are coming back to life, crops are dying, etc., etc. We get her approval, and I have her name, but it's like we have Tell, I think, Dawn Marshal of the Queen Temple. Go to the Wild Mother Temple. All the plants are dying. We run into Bro, is a cameo. Um, one of the older PCs from the previous campaign made her way over here. We find leader, and Val talks with them. Yeah, mentioning Liev Tel. They also agree to help. Check up on the Bahamut Temple, and they're doing pretty bad. The loss of Bahamut has hindered their power. And this is the temple where the Orcus is, but it is unsealed, so they're taking the brunt of the necromantic energy. As we discuss a plan here, we lament the fact that even if we stop them now, it's possible that they'll just attack the town again later. And we convince them to transfer the horn to us, and we will get it to a safe location. Passing through Cord Temple, Petra has an awkward moment with the Cord people, but things work out here. Oh yes, Vaster is offered a chance to move on, but he decides to stay with us and help us fight the good fight, like the bro that he is. So with that, we have the assistance of all four of the major temples. Morgan is going to sneak us into the Star Destroyer, the Executor. We're given Stormtrooper armor and start wandering around. We find a couple rooms. It is difficult to navigate, and there are stormtroopers everywhere. Oh yes, there are clones of Rux. Fortunately, gave them Rux's blood, but it's fine. There is a specific floor that we presume power sources, but it needs a password, and we do not get the password right. So the elevator locks up, and this is where everything goes to crap, basically. So we have to sneak around a whole bunch, find the med bay, get to the bridge. We're thinking, oh, we'll just crash the ship if we can't get to the power source. But Harkin is at the bridge, and we fail our stealth checks. So we have to go into combat. Do end up fighting Harkin. Karan's clone shows up, Simulacrum. And Calum shows up as a Revenant. We fight all of them off. Rux almost gets disintegrated. Survives with 1 HP. That was a very stressful battle. But we managed to come out on top. Call in our reinforcements. Petra disguises herself as Karan, and we wander around the ship. We eventually get to the power source of the ship, and it's a beacon. We take the beacon. I think we take the beacon. But in either case, the counterattack doesn't go well because we've got temples have griffins and wyverns, and the Sith have like TIE fighters. So we are losing, and uh, Petra's disguise gets sussed out as we return to the bridge. But in our um, right before it looks like things are not gonna go well, Morgan shows up in her little pocket rocket and blows out the bridge. So that saves us from like combat against a million vampires and stormtroopers. We quickly take over the bridge and bring the ship into a nosedive, and then run out the the front window and jump into Morgan's ship. Um, the ship crashes, but there are a bunch of um, evac ships that make it out. So we inform the temples that to keep an eye out for lingering forces that may be in the area. And the Bahamut Temple gives us the Horn of Orcus. Stop by the Wild Mother Temple before leaving. Val like connects to the tree or something. Um, basically, we have a free way to teleport back if we need to. They're not a fan of magic in Vasselheim, so there's no teleportation circles, but Val can travel via plants. It's safe. Get some just iconography. Bring home. Um, yeah, I forgot we brought Torum. The son of Turok is one of Cassian's rivals. Um, Blood Hunter, cool guy. Um, but yes, we teleport back home, and now it's time to prepare for Rexentrum stuff. Um, between the thrill fight at Dark Toe and the dealings with the cursed beacon and the the one that Liana has, and then also the cursed beacon used as the power source for the ship. Bane has been in our minds now and again, more often than we'd like. So Petra tries to Luxenify the place and keep Bane away, which is um, mostly successful. Petra tells Rux about the corrupt beacon and all the visions that she got, and we end up talking our way through what we want to do. Um, and also the fact that we have the Horn of Orcus to stash somewhere. We end up deciding to leave it with the queen, but of course the queen is already in Rexentrum. We have to leave it with Mom Dalis because she is next in line in charge. Um, After several warnings, we end up leaving it. Definitely seems curious enough to experiment it with it, similar to Donna, but we properly convince her to stay hands off. Um, let's see. Rux puts in a major down payment. Curvin, get our defunct ship repaired. Um, also gets a new set of armor. It's cool. Uh, bit more RP before leaving. Yes. Morgan gets back. So, Morgan's information was good, and she helped us get out. So it's our turn to fill our end of the bargain. Um, so she shows up, and we summon Turok. Turok prepares the ritual, and thankfully everything works. Um, there's a bit of Quran's blood, spirit, something or another that is forced out and attempts to get away, but we kill it. Val sunbeams it out of nowhere. Um, and is whole again. Um, Petra finally tells the rest of the party about the corrupt beak. Um, and we learn the story about Bane and Lysandra. The whole lore thing between the triumvirate of deities, Bahamut, Wildmother, and Bane. Um, where Bahamut created humanity, Wildmother created nature, and Bane gave everyone actions. Everything was fine, but Bane pushed the action thing a bit too far. Um, ended up fighting against the other two, and they basically abandoned the planet to Bane. So all of these knights broke their vows, and Spren all died, and Knights Radiant basically were almost put into extinction. Um, and so now Bane has all these corrupt beacons that he's used to fuel his stormtrooper army. Um, oh yeah, Rux tells everyone about Rex and Trum, all of the things that are happening there, the Citadern King's plan, the Queen's plan, all the archmages are there. A lot of stuff. Um, apparently, Clarence's sister is in the army, which is a fun little factoid. But after everyone is debriefed on everything, we teleport over to the Empire. We end up in the Underdark, and our deal here is that the dynasty has cut a plan with or cut a deal with the Myriad in order to sneak us into the city. Um, we all disguise ourselves and go talk to the Myriad. Our contact ends up being Rux's old Myriad contact from when he was running a con group, I guess, back in the Empire, which does not sit well with him, because he suspects that they betrayed him way back when. Um, but seems like the deal is that the Myriad will get us into town and give us information on what we're gonna do, and in exchange, the dynasty basically gives them a heads up and evacuates most of the Myriad out of town before Rexentrum gets turned into a war zone. Which is fine for the most part, but we get above ground into Rexentrum and are brought into a bar to discuss information. And Shadira breaks disguise. It turns out that this is not who we think it is. Um, he knows a lot more information than he should about any and all of us. Can see Valspren, and it does not appear that we are able to harm him at all. Blair tries his hardest to stab him, and it doesn't work. So, sure, whatever. We discussed the job at hand. There are 2 archmages in town. There was so much stuff in Rexentrum. So there's a way they have a defense system set up so that they can threshold crests where they can immediately just teleport the town. They have 3 gates with the crests set up, and as long as 2 of them are active, the ability for the town to teleport away is available. So we have to disable 2 of them to prevent that. And then there's also a bunch of underground mines that are preventing our forces, since the dynasty likes to travel with giant purple worms. But the mines are in the way, so we can't get our forces into the city. We have to deactivate the mines. And then there's also a freaking Warforged like factory that we have to disable. And so that's like 4 missions right there. So sure, we'll do that. Um, but mentions something about Val, and one thing leads to another, and he starts revealing that he has basically meddled with everyone's life at some point or another. A bunch of everyone's backstory is revealed. The lab plan that Rux attempted to do in his backstory was the the betrayal that he suspected was in fact because of Hoyd. Lucia's death, Lucia's, well, Lucian, Lucian's first death was because Boyd decided not to interfere. Petra's dad's recapture by the Myriad was because of Hoyd. Um, and Evilier's fiance. Um, I think something about the fiance was Hoyd's doing as well. So he's basically screwed with all of us. Um, so we're obviously pissed, but we can't do anything about it because he's sort of super immortal. Um, so he starts off this grand illusion to tell us a story about the past and background of the Luxon. Um, and long story short, the Luxon was like the one true deity, but all of the other gods in the pantheon decided to uh, consume the Luxon. They broke it up into several different shards, and everyone took a shard for themselves to increase their own power, which created the pantheon that we have now. Um, uh, and he sort of gives us our own mission, air quotes, to stop Bane. If Bane is left unchecked, um, bad things will happen, obviously, and is uh the plan to kill off Bahamut and the Wild Mother succeed, and he can absorb their shards of the Luxon, then he'll become too powerful and won't be able to stop him. Um, we have a bit of a breakdown because we don't know what to do. Oh yeah, he tells us that we need to um get so this is where our current mission is basically wants us to get our own divine shards of power from our own deities in order to power ourselves up to be strong enough to fight Bane on our own. We all freak out, and because obviously we don't want to help him since he is the reason for everything wrong in our lives. But at the same time, Bane is definitely someone that stop, and so there's a disconnect there between wanting to do the right thing and not wanting to follow along with the plan of this douchebag. Um, so we discuss the stuff at hand. What directions from first? Get up with Gunhild. Um, Gunhild, we're friends with Gunhild. She's fine. She's willing to do what needs to be done. But the Glass Blades are not as convinced. Um, betraying people that they've worked with, it's not really something that they vibe with. So we go to the barracks and give a bit of a speech to rile up the crowd, and it works, thankfully. So discuss things. Um, give our information to the queen. And decide the first thing we're gonna do is go after the gates. Stop the threshold crests first so that the city can't teleport away. It's gonna be simultaneous attacks. Some elite guards that have been sent in from the dynasty will work together with Gunhild and a couple of her people to attack one gate and attack another gate. Um, some shopping and scout out the gates. Uh, distract some guards, run through, run into Matt, another PC from the previous campaign. He tried to dash all the way through to the power source, but unfortunately, we had to fight it out. And we do manage to stop the crest from powering up. But we have to split up as we escape the guard station. We'll make it back to the tavern. And it sounds like the other group was successful. So that's the gates out of the way. Petra and Lucia have a Luxon dream about Bahamut's realm and Bahamut being tortured. Uh, that is obviously our next step. Bahamut gives them a badge that will allow them access to his realm, which basically marks that as our next destination. Next up, we are going to infiltrate, get into the academy, and get to the basement to power down the mines that are protecting their ground. So we sneak around through the sewers, get to the school grounds, get inside, and sneak through a class. We finally make it into like the lab that is in like the basement. Or no, we get to the headmaster's tower. Or we're still going to a basement of the headmaster's tower. So we have to figure out a way to get in. We do some sneaking. Rux goes invisible and pickpockets a key to this like secret trapdoor that leads into the tower. You do get in, but there's people inside. Researchers are working with Broomstone, which is something that will uh, levitation magic, something. But they're gonna eventually use to lift the city later. Actually, that's good. Stone. Okay. Um, But we distract them for a while, go to the bathroom, and knock out the researchers who are escorting us and sneak around down there. And we find a research room. We've got some storm form. It's like the proper form of Bane's underlings. Um, of like Bane creatures. Find the headmaster's study, which is back behind the research area. We sneak in. But unfortunately, the Archmage is there waiting for us, so we fight it out. Um, we do end up killing the Archmage, which is great. We find a bunch of notes. Um, find some stuff on their Warforged technology, and a little bit of research on lichens and the storm form. Um, past the headmaster's chambers, there's a staircase that leads down to the power source for the minefield, which we unpower, and we evacuate out of there. We check in with Gunhild, and she doesn't answer. Now we have the detour. We try to scry on her. Well, Faulkner doesn't have any info. So we scry on her. She's getting executed with a whole bunch of glass blades for betraying the Empire. So we have to detour from the next thing. We're supposed to go to the Warforged factory, but we have to go rescue her now. So we uh round up the rest of the glass blades. I feel like we had more people with us besides the glass blade. Not remember. Um, but we do end up rescuing her. Thing is fine. Uh, it's likely that some of the glass blades that weren't convinced of our grand plan may have betrayed our betrayal, told the Empire. So, jig is up, but at least they can't teleport away. Um, we check in with the Queen, and she still wants us to deal with the Warforged factory. So, plan for that. Um, yes. Lucia gets a dream about the thrill. I did not remember correctly. I don't think we fought the Thrill at Dark Toe. That's at Rexentrum. That's later. Okay. We rest in the mansion. We head to the Warforge factory. There's basically a giant robot that's being built that could turn the tides of the battle. And so we have to destroy it before that happens. Um, which we end up doing. Uh, and there's a thrill storm starts forming. Val tries to absorb it as storm light and it fails, which sort of shakes her up a little bit. And that's right. So the Empire does activate some of the Broomstone, not not enough to get the whole city up, but they do lift up the castle up. So we're gonna have to figure out a way to fly up there to get to the king. But at least that's all of the other stuff taken care of. Um, we check in with the dynasty folk, and they're gonna bring up a whole bunch of wyverns. Um, we train with our wyverns a little bit. How to train your wyvern. Uh-huh. Yes, and as we fly up to the castle, um, lightning strikes, a bunch of storm form appear, a bunch of Bane soldiers, and a Sith Lord. Because of course, Bane can't leave enough alone. So, uh, attack. This is a very long battle. Fight at the gates first. With some captain. Marshal. Crown Marshal. Yes. Um, who ends up allying himself with Bane to go Super Saiyan, but we beat him anyway. Um, the gates become a safe point. Oh yes, and our first time getting stabbed in sleep gets attacked by some myriad assassins as we rest at the gates. Um, another rival of evil ears and some changelings who are disguised as his ex-best friend and his ex-fiance. He's distraught at the fact, but it does turn out that they weren't who they thought he was. Thought they were. Um, and we do eventually dispatch them all. Uh, Fear learns that the Leaders of the Myriad are still on the coast, so he makes a mental note of that. With the queen again. We ride on in with the dragon. As we do, the thrill is continuing its onslaught. The city. Fight the king and the crown prince and Caleb and Astrid. We eventually kill the king. Prince's sword, Spren, Nightblood. Very interesting Spren. Very hungry boy. Likes to consume energy. But he also has the ability to kill things permanently. Destroy souls becomes important for us. Our victory in the castle is short-lived because the thrill is causing everyone to go insane. So we have to rush back down to the city, fight off the storm form, or form, smoke form. I do not remember this at all. Probably a one-time thing. And there is a Sith Lord that we fight. We defeat them all, but the Sith Lord eventually transforms into the Thrill itself. This is where we do finally actually fight the Thrill. Tries to why was there a beacon? I guess the queen must have brought a beacon with her to the fight. It tries to take over the queen's beacon, but we prevent it from doing so. And Val uses Nightblood in order to kill the Thrill permanently. But Sha also absorbs part of it. But with this, everything is, well, all the combat is finally done. Let's see. Wind down in the city. Petra runs into the princess, dealing with the citizens. Evil here goes and drinks. Rux checks in with Kayla. Val tries to help out with the injured. Rux checks in on the academy. But it looks like they weren't making storm form, which is good. They're just doing research. Tries to find blood magic stuff. Doesn't see too much. Gunhild's alive. And there is a meeting between the powers that be now that the war is over. So, political stuff, yay. Um, all the major powers that be come together. There is the Bright Queen dynasty. There is the Princess of Fire. Is the King of Luthadern, and what's his face? Where is his face? Not have may not have been in this meeting. Been in the next. Couple of Cerberus assembly guys here too. Like discuss how the Empire is going to be run. Lots of tension because of the king's betrayal, and but Petra doesn't want the dynasty to rule over them because it'll cause animosity, and everyone will just have revenge on the mind. Blah blah blah. Um, we showcase a bunch of things that we learned from the Lux Invasions, destruction of Aeor. They plan a triumvirate, a quadriumvirate for now. Yes, an evil ear tries to tell the queen about the children of malice, and this is where everything goes wrong. Because evil ear. Um, the queen is like, okay, and what proof? Evil ear is like, I'll get back to you on that. Um, Val has some soul searching to do about the war, and what if we're the bad guys, etc., etc. Let's see. Bunch of stuff from Archmage's Towers. Research. And peace ceremony. Oh yes, Mom Thales ends up being the de facto leader of the empire for now. Um, although there will be like the king will assist in the overseeing, and the princess will have some say, sort of, kind of. The princess isn't a very uh, political. Um, let's see. We say our goodbyes. Everyone at the capital, and head home. And surprise, surprise, Val's family is at home. Um, Val's family, mom, brother, and twins. Also a Moor bounder for some reason, because of course. Um, we name our ship. Oh yes, the queen offers us consecution beacon as a reward for helping win the war, but everyone refuses because of course Um, Zephyr offers a chance for Val's family to officially join then Olios, which is a thing, so they can be part of a high power den and like officially part of the dynasty. Uh, instead of consecution, we ask the queen to pay for a dock for our ship because we spent all of our gold getting the ship repaired, and she is not pleased but agreed. There's a festival to celebrate the end of the war. We have a lot of fun. Rux wins a arm wrestling contest. Uh, Petra completely crushes Zunala's happiness. Um, yes, Evilier tries to get some information on the Children of Malice by going to a shady bar and ends up almost getting recruited and then gets like scryed on and parts. Evilier doesn't plan things ever. Um, Yana and Petra go on a date. Uh, yeah, Evilier gets like blindfolded and led to a Children of Malice camp. They want information on the Lightborn, aka Lucia. Um, then Evilier comes back to us and is like, "Hey, the Children of Malice are actually a thing, and they want all of this information." But they're scrying on him when he told us this, and so obviously he's not in it for real, and start happening. Uh, more fluff, more E. Vaguely suspect Zin be connected to the Children of Malice, but we have no proof. Can't scry on him. Is that Oh yeah, there's a Den Kryn is trying to take over Vincent and Viola's shop, which Viola does not particularly. Um, Val takes her family to Vasselheim to visit the Wild Mother Temple. That's fun. As she befriends Moreau. The rest of the party does some research on Lolth and the Children of Malice. Uh, get a bunch of lore dropped about Lolth. And we learn specifically about um Ah, yes, there it is. Jor-El. The inevitable end. Her chosen assassin. Champion of Lolth. Also look up stuff about Bahamut. Realm, his lore, dragons, that jazz. Yeah, Val sees Varro at pit fighting. Rex checks in on Turok Craven Edge. That's the name of the sword that Craven Edge. Um, not too much info about it. You know, Lucia is apparently head of Den Thalis while Mom Thalis is out of town. She has all of this paperwork to do, and she is now in charge of all of the siblings. This next in line in the chain of command. Um, Evilary gets some nightmares, and it turns out that now that the Children of Malice know that he is sided with Lucia, they begin to nightmare him all day. Um, for every night. Get a visit from a bard. Wants to pay us for our life for our life story and turn it into a book. Which we are not too fond of. Kind of give her the okay, we'll think about it, and then shoo her away. Um, she gives us Hoyd vibes, and we hate Hoyd, so that's a big no from us. Um, Lara continues to have nightmares. Essek tries to bond with us, kind of. He wants in on all of the information that we have. He asks us about the corrupted beacon and about the Horn of Orcus. Um, we fill him in a little bit. Um, enough to get him to trust us. Uh, we discover that sleeping in the what is it? Hut? Get the name of the spell. Um, but sleeping in the hut will prevent Lear from getting nightmared. So we do that for the night. Um, where land here? Uh, going to find the. Oh yeah, we go to Bahamut's realm. Okay, my notes are very obviously super specific on all the details, everything. So we plane shift to Bahamut's realm. And are trying to find the temple. We avoid some creatures and we'll get found by some like Bane. Well, not Bane things, Orcus things. These are demons. Devils, demons. A frog guy and a crab dog. Um, there is a Lord Kalimnor is now in charge of Bahamut's realm, appointed by Orcus himself. Um, Nightblood seems very interested in being in Bahamut's realm. It's like he's been here before. But as we approach the Bahamut's temple, we notice the stench of undead and undead dragons, and there are banners of Orcus and Bane all around the city walls. These aren't as they should be. Brought over to Kalnor, who is Giant's Baylor. Um, we ask for a tour of the place, humble ourselves before him, and he allows us to be escorted around. We are brought to the torture chambers, and we find an Asimar who is being tortured. Decide to help her escape, which we do, and then we end up having to fight our demon escorts. We defeat them, but we only permanently kill one of them. With Nightblood. The other one just gets sent back to the hells. We catch back up with the Asimar that we freed, Risen, and she says that she can help us out as thanks. Um, we head over to, let's see, it's Ganassi? I feel like he wasn't actually a Ganassi. It's someone else, Calsim. They lead us to a hideout where a whole bunch of Knights Radiant are chilling out. Um, they're suspicious of us because we're outsiders, but we eventually convince them that all is well and we actually mean to help. Um, we get some info from them. There's a Draco Lich who is keeping things in check along with Kalimnor. Um, he makes some small talk. Let's see. Knight's resistance is not going well. Uh, so we plan to gather the forces that we have, attack the Colosseum, and Risen will hopefully uh, free um, whichever of her people are captured. Cal will go ahead of us and scout out the place, and we will hopefully get through to Kalimnor and uh, kill him before he can do something. I think he's trying to. He's either trying to like finish killing Bahamut or absorb his shard or something. He was ritualing something. Um, we sneak in. Um, this is the fight I was thinking of. There's a Sith Lord here, and Alor and a bunch of other stuff. We're fighting them with uh Spren. There's a bunch of Risen's people here helping us, and we're trying to rescue some prisoners. Um, we head back to base camp after rescuing those that we can. We get chased by a vampire. Um, Cal gives us his reports on the building. Okay. We sneak over to the palace. Try to climb up the walls to get to the throne room. It's rather dangerous, and we almost get caught, but make it up there. Um, we mess with the throne a little bit, and a portal appears that teleports us into some floating islands. Yes, so Kalnor is trying to absorb the Luxin shard. Um, inside this portal is where Kalnor and the Draco Lich are. We fight them off and get to the Luxin shard. Lucia and Petra have their anime power-up scene, and they get their boon. They are now part Bahamut. Um, Petra gets dragon wings, and Lucia's eyes glow even more than they usually do. Bane shows up as we exit the portal. He tries to intimidate us, but he's quite scared at the fact that two of us are already divine now. Get another slight vision of three gods. Yes, Bane trying to intimidate us. There's a celebration as the Spren all are finally free. Demons in town. And they offer us their help, and they'll eventually go fight Bane. All that's done in Bahamut's realm. We teleport back and try to figure out what we're gonna do next. It's a bit of a split between Myriad stuff and Rux's sister. After some scrying, they get a little bit of info. I should say Petra, not Luna. Petra scries on her dad. Evalier checks into the Myriad leaders on the coast, and Rux checks in on his sister. And that is it. So get all the way through what? Rex Centrum stuff and our first Divine Realm. 25 sessions. Not bad. So I we'll take a quick break here. I'm dying. And a little bit, we'll go NPCs that we've met since then. Shouldn't take too long.